Welcome to the show, John Wilson in the studio, talking all things Jackson, bringing you the news that you need to know. The Heads on Jackson podcast, and we're coming at you live in your city, Jackson. This is your time. Get your news from your neighbor, the people who care, unbiased and uncensored with pride, broadcasting to you live on the air. Trusted source to tell you what's happening from the city to the county line. All the news that matters. Make your own opinion about the news that affect your life. It's on Jackson Podcast, and we're coming at you live in your city, Jackson. This is your time. Get your news from your neighbor, the people who care, unbiased and uncensored with pride. Coming at you broadcasting live on the
Welcome back to another episode of Hits Home Jackson with John Wilson, where it's always my objective to keep the responsible, law-abiding, hard-working, and retired citizens of all of Jackson County better informed on those decisions that are being made at the local level with our Jackson City Council, Jackson County Commission, and even your township elected officials, village townships. Today, once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, John. How you doing? It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. We got a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. And we are honored once again to be joined on Hits Home Jackson with Will Hastings. Hi, Will.
Great to be here. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year, Kevin. Happy New Year, John.
Thank you. It's going to be a good year. Yes, sir.
I hope so. This is a big year come November.
Yes.
State, local, and federal.
Yes. And what's nice is local now, the city of Jackson are having their elections in even years, 26, which is going to bring out more voters, which is desperately needed.
Yeah, here's hoping they do the right thing and don't just fill in those slots randomly.
Well,
We will. You can move that thing if you want closer to you.
Okay.
okay, so today, as always, we got, well, it's not really hard to believe, but we got some issues to hit on. And we're going to start out with extreme ownership, okay? And then from there, we'll go on to a couple other city issues, and we'll even touch on a county issue that's been in the news recently. But anyways, extreme ownership. Now today, with Will being here, Will knows extreme ownership. So Will, I'm going to let you take this one right now and give us an explanation on extreme ownership.
I would be happy to do so. And I consider, just for anyone out there who's watching, who's asking themselves, well, what exactly is extreme ownership? I'm about to tell you in a minute, but I'll tell you, this story represents an extreme abuse of authority and power and fiscal choices at Jackson City Hall, and it goes right back to the manager, Jonathan Green, and of course, there's nothing he can do budget-wise that is not authorized by that city council. So essentially, what extreme ownership is, I happen to have, this is the Bible of extreme ownership, coincidentally entitled Extreme Ownership, and it is essentially a training program, mainly for people in the business world. And it was started by two former Navy SEALs. So a lot of this is, there's a big Vegas aspect to this, where people fly out to, cities in like San Diego or Las Vegas or San Antonio, Texas, and they get up on stage and they talk about their war stories. And as people who have been, in special operations in the Iraq and Afghanistan area, they probably have some very interesting war stories to tell.
U.S. Navy SEALs.
U.S. Navy SEALs. And somehow this caught the eye of our city manager, and he began to decide we need to train. And this is by his own words. He wants to train every employee at Jackson City Hall in this technique. And I'd say, well, okay, professional training is a thing in the workplace. And just to be clear, we're not going to make this a big discussion over whether this is an extremely useful thing for people to have, an extremely useless thing for people to have, or something in the middle. It's really not about that. It's really not about the merits of this. I do question the merits of this, but what's about is the cost. Because for the last 3 years, starting 23, 24, 25, the city has been spending many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the thing is, you'd say, well, they're getting this ownership training. Maybe it's not so much the what as is the where. So all the city employees, they don't get this training in Jackson. They don't get this training on their PCs, even though you can purchase extreme ownership remote training and modules on your from their website. They are being flown all over the country.
Now let's
Sure.
break it down a little bit.
Yes.
Who are they? We'll just call it the top City Hall officials.
Yeah, it started with them. And as I said, Jonathan Green said when he introduced this, and he had a little kind of sham wow type of presentation sometime back to Jackson City Hall, and saying what a wonderful program this is and how transformative and all the wonderful things that result for the people of Jackson if we engage in this program. Cost was not discussed then. So in order to get this training, city employees are being flown all over the country. Here's where they're going to receive this trainership, this training. San Diego, that was in January of 24. San Antonio, September of 24. Texas is pretty nice in the fall, I hear. Orlando, April of 2023. That's supposed to be like actually the peak month there for, they say, for Disney. It's best weather. Dallas, October 24. More San Diego, February 2025. More San Antonio, May of 25, San Diego, a different junket also February 25, and Phoenix, Arizona. So just the registration costs for city employees to go to those conferences, and these conferences roll on, they're not done yet. The registration costs alone are about $170,000. So my wife FOIA'd Jackson City Hall to ask specifically what were all the travel costs and all costs associated with this program. This is a copy of the FOIA. And when they sent the FOIA, the person from City Hall noted it was incomplete. It did not include all the travel costs. And if you wanted to find that out, you'd have to FOIA again, and it would take an extended amount of time. In other words, we're not telling you. But hang on, John, that's not all. So the baseline, the registration is $169,000, but in the period in question, there has been over $300,000, almost $350,000 in travel expenditures. Now, this is not complete. This may not include hotel. This may not include include food. This may not include per diems, other travel allowances, like, driving your car to and from the airport. So this is a partial cost. So we're talking $500,000 for Jackson City Hall to pay for professional training, which can be had from the same people. I think it's called Echelon Inc. or something like that. $350 an employee for remote training.
Yeah.
100 employees.
Everything's remote now.
100 employees at approximately Jackson City Hall. That'd be $35,000. They have a deluxe online training module you can purchase. The best of the best. Creme de la creme. $599 online. 100 employees, $60,000. Big difference between spending $500,000 plus and $60,000 on this. And given the fact that these all involve these warm weather travel junkets, I consider this absolutely indefensible. I think it's an insult. I would think above anyone else, the leadership, and the people, Mr. Green and the people working from in his office would understand that this is a city that has a very high poverty rate, twice the state level, twice the national level.
Close to 30%.
Close to 30%.
We're working on 30%.
That is correct. And when I was looking at economic data for Jackson on various sites, and one of the sites said that there are 2,000 people in Jackson, Michigan, in the city, who are full-time employees who still fall under the poverty line. That's a tough existence.
Wow.
We know there's a lot of retirees. We know there's working poor. We know there's working class. You know, it's a lot of people. It's even before the great inflation, it was a struggle. So the fact that this was greenlit by Jonathan Green is, I would say, it's just frankly indefensible. And council has no place left to hide either, because ultimately, now it's interesting that if you look at the city budget, there isn't a big line item that says
No.
$500,000 for extreme ownership. You see, and I'll just kind of pass this over to Kevin just for a second. But do you see the numbers on top? Those are the travel expenses. Yeah, they're all spread out from different
And
departments.
again,
Oh,
Will,
wow.
the travel
Kind of hard, making it that much easier to miss.
and those travel expenses right now are just, for the most part, the registration. Like you said, it does not. It excludes food and drink, hotel stay, food and lodging for the most part, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
even airfare.
So everybody can see
Yes.
it.
So
There
the
we go.
hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been spent on this, I just call it an extreme junkets.
Yeah, and
Extreme junkets paid for by, again, the hardworking and retired tax-paying citizens of the city of Jackson.
I mean, sure, you can if they want to, you want to circle the wagons and defend this, you can defend the training, but for heaven's sake, the book that this is all based on is available in paperback from Amazon, new, for $10.50.
Yeah.
The training manual, there's a workbook. The workbook, there's a workbook, training workbook, same program, same authors, is available for $14.95. So you could get about 50 copies of each for maybe like, I don't know, $1,200.
Yeah.
I've done a fraction of a rounding error of what this involves. So what makes this an insult and what makes this indefensible is the warm weather, is the vacation package. And that's why I've dubbed this the party patrol. And I say the party patrol has to come to a stop. It's inappropriate and it's a very bad fit.
Are they also collecting salary during this time?
Well, sure. The training sessions, I looked at this FOIA, the training sessions are held during the week.
Oh, so they're getting paid for it.
Yes.
Oh,
they're not held on the weekends.
I know where I'm getting a job.
Right. Yeah. Where do we sign up? You know, and I was thinking when you were mentioning all those beautiful, warm locations with sunshine, you know, there's a common denominator there. They're all warm. All have lots of sunshine. Some have beaches, and all of them have pool sides.
Oh yeah,
and they have poolside bars.
Oh, yes, and the poolside bars.
And who knows what shenanigans go on after hours. Actually, a lot of this, it's come to my attention. There's a number of people who work at Jackson City Hall who are aware of the junkets, and they actually specified seeing the pictures, and it's like it's like Animal House. They're disgusted. People at Jackson City Hall are disgusted. Of course, they're not going to speak out. Of course, they're not going to jeopardize their jobs. That's a lot to ask of anyone. But this is, for a city that cries poor when it comes to fixing roads, for a city that cries poor when it comes to, we just had our second murder of the year, just a few days ago in the city limits in East Michigan.
Involving a gun.
Involving a gun, yeah.
Yep. Bullets to body.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's I think this most definitely needs to be, extreme ownership needs to be a household term and phrase, and the existence of the costless program should be understood to everyone who lives in Jackson. Because if anyone would like to go online and look at the last council meeting, which was earlier this week on Tuesday the 27th, before all this came. Before we got to citizen comment, where I discussed this, they had a part of the agenda that's dedicated. They want to do road work on Ganson Street, Elm east to city limits, and some people came in who live on Ganson Street, and one of the women was a woman, actually not I'd say later middle-aged woman, and she moved to Jackson not that many years ago. She had recently lost her husband, and she had just gotten out of the hospital 2 weeks because 2 weeks ago she had a stress-induced heart attack, and she came home and found a $5,000 street assessment, and she was very distraught and crying. In fact, you can watch it's online, but I would say you can, if you find it at the meeting, you look at the early portion. That's where the rubber really hits the road. That's where the rubber really hits the road with this. And why I did began my comment, I did a little bit humorously, but like I felt even off doing that. I prepared remarks. I can't just do everything on the fly. But, I shifted into just a statement of what an absolute failure is. And speaking of failure, this is something very important for people to understand, is what this program is about. One of the things of extreme ownership is there's no such thing as a team failure. The leader, the person at the top,
which is our city manager, and to a lesser degree council, but the city manager is the most by design is the most powerful person at City Hall. Runs day-to-day operations.
Runs the day-to-day operations.
The whole city.
Has had his college loans paid for by the city. Just got a huge bump up to approximately $200,000 a year, and so forth and so on. But the person at the top has to. Extreme ownership involves extreme ownership of failures and missteps. And I've not seen Jonathan Green acknowledge the failure of the GVI, the Group Violence Initiative. We just talked about those homicides.
Number one, GVI. Go ahead with number two.
There's.
Well, let's
are we doing a
top three? Let's go four.
Okay, I'm going to throw out recently the debacle over downtown parking.
Okay, let's make it five.
The next one, and to me the big one, because this is a moral failure and is a complete and utter failure, is the city steered $1.2 million to turn the T.A. Wilson into a homeless shelter. We've just been through the second winter in a row with extremely bitter cold weather, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that the city spent for pallet housing. It's sitting somewhere in the dark in that building as we speak. It is not reopened. As I mentioned previously, they announced they're closing it as a homeless shelter. They're discharging people back in May. And here we are, it's January, and there's no indications to anyone.
Coldest winter of recent history.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could give you maybe a better update, but I'm told by people in the local media who've attempted to contact them that they haven't returned any calls or inquiries since May. And we're knocking on the door of February 2026.
It's almost May.
What's that?
It's almost May again.
Yeah.
Right. So that's three you mentioned there. Number four, you want me to take it?
I want you to take it.
Let's go with number four. I'm going to say our neighborhood streets, the deplorable condition of our neighborhood streets. And number five is the ongoing debacle of the Hayes Hotel.
Oh, geez.
Okay, those are our top five. Now, okay, let's round it off to no less, probably with travel, registration fees, $750,000 minimum, if not close to $1 million. Once you would get the food, beverage, lodging, and everything, airfare, all that included with the numbers that you have right here. So let's just round it off. Let's just say $1 million. $1 million is a drop in the bucket to the city hall, and that $1 million, sure. How many streets can be repaid for $1 million? You know what? Not many, but the fact remains that money could go to reduce the costs that they place on the homeowners with special assessments. Water bills. Hey, they may not have to go forward with their next water rate hike instead. But now, yes, they do, because guess what? They've blown $1 million on extreme ownership.
Yeah. And just to be clear, this is an ongoing program. So when we kind of looked through there and kind of crunched the numbers on our own, and what's very interesting is, so the first junket, the first party patrol junket was in, let's see here, looks like it's at Orlando.
Party patrol.
The Party Patrol started rolling in April of 2023 to Orlando, Florida. So I have the travel expenses for the city in 2022. That's baseline, $22,000. 2023, Extreme Ownership starts. We go up more than threefold to $75,000. 2024 jumps very significantly to $114,000, and last year it was $156,000. So that is a seven-fold increase in 3 short years from the baseline year of 2022, which was the last year before they started doing these extreme ownership vacation junkets.
And
That's
I
all
hate
they
to-
are.
Paid vacations.
hate to
Call them what
interrupt,
they
but
are.
With all that money in mind, I just wanted to pull this up. I just pulled that book up for free. I'm selling it for $1 million.
Get a hold of
Also,
City Hall. You might at least get 500,000 for it.
yeah, Extreme Ownership. Just looking at their website, they offer a discount on bulk orders. So over 25 orders, they give you discounts on your books. So
Yeah.
I just keep that in mind with that $1 million worth of
Yeah.
training.
And we'd spoken before with this, Will, and of course Gina, who did so much legwork on this, including this Freedom of Information Act, FOIAs, that cost out of your pocket, Gina's pocket. How much did this cost right here?
That was about $51, and again, that came with the email from the FOIA person at City Hall saying, basically explaining, even though the parameters were very specific about what we were asking for, saying, well, this is incomplete, and if actually you want the full cost, that will take a very extended period of time, i.e., more FOIA, more funds. This is obfuscation. Ironically,
Yes.
Extreme Ownership would dictate, because I brought up the fact at the previous, not this week's, the first city council meeting in January, I brought this up.
January 13th.
I said, can anyone tell me the cost of this program? If Extreme Ownership was real, the
They-
city manager would have contacted me the next day, or at least within a few
Yes.
business days, or someone from City Hall, and said, we looked into this for you,
And take ownership.
and
Yes.
and
Well-
take ownership, by God.
And one of the
It's-
public commenters who did comment on Extreme Ownership asked 2 specific council members,
Yeah.
do you know the amount that has been spent on this Extreme Ownership training? Of course, they're not able to answer, but they can. And so the public commenter said, okay, in 2 weeks, we'll be back. Maybe you'll have an answer for us. But guess what?
No answers
no
to be
answer.
had.
Yeah.
No answers
They
to
didn't
be
even think
had
about it.
by any city council member nor Jonathan Green.
By the way, I'm putting the link in the chat for anyone that wants to read the book for free.
Okay.
Anyways,
and I just want to make a point. You know, we've talked about how Jonathan Green is at the top of the food chain. He is the highest paid and by far and away the most powerful employee at Jackson City Hall. He makes more than all the councilmen and Mayor Mahoney combined. Probably about approximately double. I'm just doing the math in my head. So, you know, I lay this at his feet. I did so in my comment. I would do so again,
Yes.
because most of the time when people come to City Hall, they make a beeline and they have an issue and something they're unhappy about. They make a beeline. You're looking dead center at the mayor. You're going to direct it at him. You're going to direct it more generally at council. And of course, they're somewhat less than Extreme Ownership, and they have their role in this. But there is absolutely no way should Jonathan Green be allowed to sit above the fray and be unscathed. He is the one who proselytized this to the council. He continues to do so to this day. And again, I think this is a ripoff. This is an insult to the taxpayers, and this is indefensible.
That it is.
Absolutely.
And again, the city manager works at the pleasure of our city council. We'll rehash this real quickly again. We have a weak mayor system. That city manager, Jonathan Green, and all the city managers previous to Jonathan, they run the day-to-day operations of the city council and work at the direction of the city council. And again, when our city council just sits there and doesn't even say anything. Now, maybe they are behind the scenes, but I don't think so. Otherwise, they would have had some answers on the total cost of this last Tuesday night, but they did not, of course, because you know what? their hands are dirty with this also. It is the city council who allocates the funding for this. Now, like Will said, you cannot find anywhere in the last three city budgets, last fiscal year, the last three fiscal year city budgets anywhere on a line item that states, they're going to allocate $250,000 to send some top city hall officials to San Diego for this training. No, it's broken down into the budgets of each department.
Yeah.
That's where it's at, and you cannot even find it on any line item within those budgets.
It is deliberate obfuscation. It should have been presented, debated, and voted on as basically a single budget item, at least for that year. It was not this slid. This was deliberately slid in under the waterline. And again, that's just yet another aspect. They're obfuscating. They're hiding. They're not telling the truth. They're not taking accountability. Any one of those council members could have just said, at some point said, well, they don't even have to say it publicly. They could have simply just contacted the city manager and say, could you let me know what the costs are? I said, you know what? I'm not going to haggle with you. It doesn't have to be down to the dime or the dollar. How about within $5,000 or $10,000? Sure. I wouldn't beat you over the head if it's within a couple percent, but we don't know. And
but nothing.
That's
you've heard.
It's
nothing.
deliberate city policy.
I knew nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
no. Right.
Sergeant, maybe Sergeant Schultz could be our next city manager.
Okay,
that's about the caliber we're getting.
Wow, thank you so much for that detailed explanation. And so the way you lay it out there, if anybody still doesn't understand what extreme ownership may be about, go ahead and contact either one of us. And again, you'll just shake your head. It's all we can do is shake our heads because nobody is held accountable at City Hall for this. And I lay the blame for that on our 7 city council members, our 6 city council members, and the mayor.
Yes.
They are not providing any oversight, zero oversight with this extreme ownership, and zero accountability.
And just one final thing. So to anyone who's watching, because let's understand. It took we to do some digging to kind of figure out what this extreme ownership was all about. Hey, just get on your web browser, even just do an AI search. What is the philosophy of extreme ownership? Uh-huh. Read for yourself and take a hard look at City Hall. Take a hard look at this, just fumbling and bumbling from disaster to disaster, and tell me if you think the principles of this in any way, shape, or form are reflected in the actions of City Hall. Judge for yourself.
They can't even take ownership with the failure of all of this. All right, let's okay. Hey, we got another city issue, believe it or not. And we'd already brought it up. East Ganson Street homeowners, property owners, are being assessed for a East Ganson Street paving project that goes from Elm Street east to the city limits. And that pretty much goes all the way down to, I can't think of the street, close to
Horton. East Horton, right?
East, all the way east. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the city limits, right
past McThirsty's on Horton, I believe is where the city limits are.
Thank you, Kevin. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a stretch of course, homes and properties, rental properties, but mostly they're all single family homes, or maybe a few duplexes in there. But these individuals, such as the woman that you spoke of, that got up during public comment and actually cried over the amount of assessments that she was being charged to have her street repaved, a street repaved that is in deplorable condition. This is a major street. Let's make that perfectly clear. This is a major street that should have been eligible for federal funding, but there's state funding, but there's no state funding included in the mix of this funding. There's 3 funding conduits. They got a federal grant, and they're using major street funds, and they're using the assessments. There's 3 funding conduits to get this approximately just over $800,000 repaving project done. And most of it well, over $400,000 of this $800,000 project is being taken out of those property owners, those homeowners' pockets to pay for this.
Oh, wow.
And it ranges anywhere from $1,500. Those must be just small lots, and there are some large lots
Yeah.
on this street. And I can't guess maybe what the income level is or per capita income level of all these homes combined, but I'm going to say it's not probably one of the highest per capita incomes areas of the city. These people can least afford it.
Yeah, it ranges high and low, but I bet I'm just trying to drive down in my head, and I mean, there is some money, but not a lot.
No. And these people, first of all, it's unfair. They should do away with all assessments on property owners and homeowners. And I'll be asked, Wilson, so how are we going to pay for this? Okay, good question. How are we going to pay for this? But this is a major street. There should have been state funding involved. So why didn't they go after some state funding with this? They got that federal grant. They're using major street funds, which they do with street reconstruction, repaving on major streets. And East Ganson Street is a major street.
I would say so.
Absolutely, just like Elm Street. But I'm going back to how I consider it unfair is because lately, these last couple years, City Council has picked and choose who to assess and who not to assess. There's a couple. We've discussed this already. We've hammered on this before. We really don't need to even touch on it. But it's unfair when a homeowner, a property owner, and I can't think of the names of these streets on the east side, down over there by the hospital right now, that were not assessed a dime to have their streets, a total reconstruction on their streets, not just a repaving, total reconstruction. And the reason they had to do a total reconstruction is because they're bringing up all the old water and sewer pipes, which needs to be done. Okay, but this is over by the hospital, so the hospital probably had a little something to say about this. Hey,
I'm sure
our water pressure isn't as good as it should be. Maybe with some new water lines, maybe it would be. So, anyways, those people were not assessed a dime. And another example of those who were not assessed a dime, zero, nada, not a dime, are those homeowners, property owners along MLK Junior Drive.
Oh,
zero,
100% waived.
100% waived. So how can a city council member actually vote yay on assessing these homeowners, these property owners on East Ganson Street?
Rubber stamp.
How could they assess those homeowners, property owners on North Elm Street that was done just last year, when they turn around and not assess homeowners, property owners on other streets? So either you're going to assess everyone, which they don't need to, or you assess nobody. Now, how could we pay for some some repaving on some of the worst neighborhood streets? Now, a neighborhood street is not a major street, so you're not eligible for federal funding. And so therefore, or state funding.
Right.
So therefore, it all comes out of the street funds, local street funds, water sewer funds, and whatever, maybe from the general fund.
Right.
So I've been asked, okay, Wilson, how are we going to pay for it?
How do you pay for the other ones?
Just the other night, Tuesday night at the council meeting, they took out a $20 million general obligation bond. I wanted to get that amount right. $20 million general obligation bond. Now, general obligation bond is paid back to who issued that bond. Okay, we borrowed that money. It's a bond.
Yeah.
The city then has that money to do whatever projects they want to with that money. Of course, it's all part of the application process. If you're going to take out $20 million in bonds, they're going to want to know what it's going to be used for. It's being used for the wastewater plant upgrades.
Yeah.
Another round of that. because that's usually what they tell us when they increase our sewer and water rates. It's being used for upgrading the wastewater plant, and also to change over which needs to be done. A lot of our sewer and water infrastructure
Right.
throughout the city, mostly on the major roads. Okay, so how could we possibly pay for repaving some of our, again, the worst of the worst, deplorable city neighborhood streets if you're not going to assess? Guess what? You take out a general obligation bond.
Oh.
Now, general obligation bonds are supposed to be paid for by the full faith and credit of the city. Okay.
Oh,
And
I don't know
just
about
like-
that, John.
Well, just like when the federal or state, whenever they take out money, borrow money. Okay.
Right.
But a general obligation bond is unlike a revenue bond. A revenue bond specifically is paid back through, let's just say, if they took out a revenue bond for upgrades at our water plant or wastewater plant, they're paid back by our fees that we pay, our water fees.
The revenue.
The revenue
Yeah.
is specifically paid back to pay out those bonds from our sewer and water bills that we receive. This general obligation bond, they've included in the language of the resolution that the city council unanimously passed without any discussion. I don't
Rubber stamp.
I won't go.
What's there? Well, why waste your time on discussing a
Right.
$20 million
It's $20 million.
Yeah, it's just $20 million.
expenditure and $20 million in debt?
I'm just going to throw it out there. I just don't believe that some of those council members even know the difference between a general obligation bond and a revenue bond. But included in this, and I'm not sorry for having to say that, not at all.
Oh.
But you know what? This general obligation bond included in the resolution language is that money will be taken from our sewer and water fees that we pay to pay back this general obligation bond. A general obligation bond is supposed to be paid for by the income taxes that the city collects from us and our property taxes. And just money from the general fund. I mean, we receive money from Lansing, from the sales taxes and everything else. The general obligation bonds are supposed to be paid back by specifically income taxes, property taxes, and any other area of the general fund that receives money, possibly revenue sharing from the
Right.
state. But no, they are, once again, targeting the residents, the business owners who are hooked up to our sewer and water within the city, not outside the city that uses our sewer and water or our water, but inside the city. We will be paying those general obligation bonds back. Shouldn't have to be that way. Not at all.
How long is the term? Like, how long do you have to pay that back? Do you know?
No, I do not. I'm
just wondering if, the fact that they just basically, like you said, rubber stamp it, that, well, none of them plan on being here. Let's fix the problem now and let them deal with it later.
They're gone. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
mayor, the city council, it's not going to fall back on them. Even if it does, it's like, well, sorry, you're mad about it. I'm not in charge anymore.
So these residents of East Ganson Street, that's just one street that have been assessed thousands and thousands of dollars. We've all been around here long enough to know the story, and we've discussed it.
I'd like to just add a little bit about the specific nature of the project on Ganson Street, or the specific nature, I wouldn't say actually the road project, but the situation and people being asked to pay those
Outrageous
assessments.
Thank you.
Outrageous
Gotcha.
assessments.
It's Friday afternoon. I'm not there yet,
yeah.
guys. I need 24-hour refresh. But
I heard that.
but this is interesting. So the two people who came to speak against in person, some people sent an email, and both of them, they noted that their neighborhood is dangerous. And I don't know if one or both of them, because I think one of them is more recently came to Jackson or back to Jackson. The other one mentioned that area has just been in decline for a while. And I did a little door knocking over there, gathering signatures for a candidate not that long ago. And it's kind of a tough neighborhood. And it's kind of the neighborhood where you see, things are fenced in, and you don't just have the no solicitor signs. It's like no trespassing with the picture of the gun on it pointing at you and stuff like that. And so the one of the women made the point, because they have an option if they gather the signatures and they get a majority of the signatures, that puts them in a good position to opt out with the city. However, the weather, she made a point, the weather's been very poor, which it has, of course, but people don't answer the door. Going back to how a tough neighborhood, they just don't.
And
They
she
just
said
don't.
it. She said it. People don't answer their doors. Now, Will, going back to the petitions that they can gather of 51% of the property owners of that street who are being assessed, if they get 51% of those residents sign stating that they are opposed to this assessment, this project. They're not opposed to the project. Yeah, bring it on. Please fix our streets. But they're opposed to the assessments. And then the city council will take a vote as to whether or not to go through with the assessments. But now that I haven't seen any of them override the petition.
No, they do tend to honor if the petitions come in from the citizens on the street and it's obviously meets the threshold. Right. The council tends to not go through with it. They will honor that, or they have.
Right.
In the last few years.
And this lady, this woman who was speaking at public comment, did she attempt a petition drive with this? I wasn't able to understand everything she was saying. I was watching it on TV.
Well, I think she was making the point that she was trying to go door to door to let her neighbors know whether or not she was even aware of the petition process or not. Yeah. That's really the only way to get those signatures. And people, I'm sorry, in those neighborhoods and in bitter weather.
Yes.
And those are the people who are, within walking distance, many of them from where that, the murder just took place a few days ago. Yeah. It's bad and it's getting worse. And you can't get signatures if people aren't opening the doors.
Well, there's probably a lot of renters as well, I'm assuming. And they're going to be whatever, but they don't realize that it's going to affect their rent.
I saw the roll of each address on East Ganson Street, and there's a lot of homeowners.
Is the homeowner? Okay.
Yeah. Now there's also some landlords.
Yeah.
I know of one in particular who was at city council meeting a couple months ago when he first learned of this, and he said, "Hey, wait a minute, this is you want to charge me this amount of money?"
Right.
And they didn't even have yet the exact amount So this public commenter, this woman, she said she just received the notice of the amount of the assessments just 2 weeks prior to the meeting.
Well, yeah, because there's actually a time frame because she's having a very difficult time in her life right now.
Right.
Had recently lost her husband, and she had a stress-induced heart attack 2 weeks before that meeting earlier this week. So about less than 3 weeks ago. And she said she learned of this. She got the bill, essentially, the bill, the $5,300 bill for this when she returned from the hospital for a stress-induced heart attack.
Didn't help.
So it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, and they're going through. City council voted 6-1 for these assessments to go through, and even the council member who represents that ward voted yay. Did not even discuss anything, took no consideration of the fact that these people cannot afford these assessments. Absolutely zero consideration.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just add one thing. I'm just very interested. There's a lot of people in the city of Jackson who will describe themselves as progressive. They will describe themselves as being very concerned with social justice and economic justice. And I'm waiting to see some of these people show up at a city council meeting and comment about the soaring water rates and comment about these street assessments specifically. Because I have a feeling if I don't know, if you were sitting in Center Square at Jackson City Council, or Bill Jors were, or anyone like that, I think we would be seeing protests in the street. We'd be seeing overflow attendance at that. But it seems like these people, their political allegiance comes just a little bit higher than their dedication to social justice and economic justice. These people are nowhere to be seen, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, they're in Minneapolis.
Except
True.
They were seen 2 weeks ago at the last Jackson County Commission meeting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They turned out. Yeah. They filled the hall for that standing room only.
Standing room only. And what this was about was the Jackson County Sheriff Schuette's participation with ICE.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to just read off what I wrote down regarding the policy, the county policy that was derived from Sheriff Schuette and approved by our county commission. It's policy number 287G. Now, this policy was enacted into effect. It went into effect March of 2025 during a county commission meeting. The county commission approved this policy, and what this policy does is it allows a sheriff's agreement that only allows the county to hold someone, illegal immigrant, for 48 hours who has already been arrested if they have an ICE warrant, like is done with judicial warrants.
Right.
Now, this was from our undersheriff, Tony Stewart. Okay.
Yes.
And here's a quote from Tony regarding this policy, this county policy 287G that the county again has with our immigration customs enforcement.
Yes.
ICE, better known as ICE. That's the acronym. This is a quote from Undersheriff Stewart regarding this policy. We want to assure the public that our deputies are not in the community asking for papers, or we are not going to ever be part of a task force. That's just simply not what we do. We are not doing actions that are being seen nationally. Now, again, end quote. That's from Undersheriff Tony Stewart. And what he's getting at is, if you mentioned Minneapolis, if they had this policy, they wouldn't be protesting in the street. But unfortunately, the mayor and the governor, the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor, don't want to participate or have anything to do with ICE. Where our sheriff will. They can hold this person. They can detain this person if there's a warrant.
Yes. So if someone is pulled over or arrested by the Jackson Sheriff's Department, and of course they run all the background on the person, and there's an open deportation order from 2018. They are wanted or they've been convicted of, they're in the country illegal, and they've been convicted of crimes that would warrant them being deported. Then what they do is they notify ICE, and they can come and pick up their person from the jail. No crowds, no people standing 3 feet away from your face blowing rape whistles at you, and things of that nature, and smashing out the lights of your car,
pounding the drums.
I saw a guy playing trombone the other day on the TV.
Yeah. Well,
So they've evolved as far as their instruments.
They're even playing trombones.
Yeah, there's two of them. They're playing trombones.
Oh, wonderful.
It was weird.
So the truth of the matter is, if you want to avoid having, armed ICE agents in the street, going out, doing the hard way, the needle in the haystack, to pick up people, the way around that is to simply allow your local jail to honor these, these ICE detainers. And it's my understanding that Tom Homan, he just visited Minneapolis.
Yep.
He just met with the mayor and with the governor, and it's at least being claimed in the stories I've read that they are now agreeing to honor those detainers in Minnesota. In exchange for that, they can pull some of the ICE agents out.
Yeah. Well,
win-win, in my opinion.
One thing that I noticed is that
if they follow through with it.
And the way, ever since this came out, and there's been an outcry about this policy, is I don't care what anyone says. If you're here undocumented, you are illegal. You're doing something illegal. So you're breaking the law. And then you break the law again. You get arrested or you get pulled over. They run it through the lien, and then you have an ICE detainer. Then you're double illegal, technically. Yeah. And my dad brought up a good point. If another county, when they run you through the lien, if another county has a warrant on you, they hold you.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we hold them for the federal government?
Right.
And I may have misunderstood, but in Minnesota, one thing I noticed is that there were ICE detainees in their jails, and they weren't releasing them to the federal government for deportation. Yeah. Why would you want to hold them? Why would you want to pay for that? Because the other thing I understand is because of this policy, like they'll pay for that 48 hours of us detaining the person until they can go into federal custody.
Yeah.
So you're just going to hold them in your jail? But those are people who already got arrested for other things. I mean,
Yes.
you're double illegal. You're breaking the law twice.
Well, all three of us here right now, I think we would all agree.
Yeah.
We thank Sheriff Schutte.
Oh yeah, no,
And for policy
Absolutely.
287G, and
Absolutely.
thank you, County Commission, for approving it.
I stand behind that 100%.
Now, speaking of, okay,
No, well, I'm just going to say briefly, and I wonder how many of the people who are at that meeting who are decrying the policy, who are decrying the sheriff's department and so on, and making various claims that this was illegal or unconstitutional in some way. I wonder how many of these people are aware that Gary Schutte attended law school, graduated law school, passed the bar, the Michigan bar. I don't know if he's in other states or not, but certainly the Michigan bar, and has practiced as an attorney in Michigan. And I think he is very well aware of what is legal and what is not. And just a final thought on all this.
I think they study the Constitution
I would
when
consider
they're in law school.
I would consider Sheriff Schutte a constitutional type sheriff. I mean,
Yes.
you hear that term a lot.
He takes his responsibilities very, very seriously. Yeah. And I would just say what this really comes down to, the detainer issue is, are you choosing, or do you think philosophically or practically it's a good idea to have various law enforcement agencies communicate and cooperate with one another or not? And I think
it depends. Are they going after brown people?
Oh, well, in that case, no. The law does not apply in that case, sir.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
the social justice warriors that did show up to the last county commission meeting and to speak during public comment, and they were lined up out the door to speak in public comment. They are called the Jackson County for Immigrants Coalition.
Oh.
And this was they were formed last year in response to the 287G agreement. Now, they're called the Jackson County for Immigrants Coalition, but it is ran by the Jackson County Democrat Party.
Oh.
Amador Abari, who is the chairman of the Jackson County Democrat Party, corralled all these, at least 100 people. Not all 100 spoke, but at least there had to have been 50 to 60 that did speak on this, opposing this Sheriff Schutte's 287G policy.
Uh-huh.
And they were all brought there by, again, the chairman of the Jackson County Democrat Party, Amador Abari.
Right. That's one thing they're good at. They're good at networking.
That they do.
They're fantastic at networking.
Yes. Yep. So again, thank you, Sheriff Schutte, and to all Under Sheriff Stewart, and to all our deputies and corrections officers that provide the public service that they do to keep us safe. Much appreciated.
Yeah, and just to say, I think most people don't really. I think Gary Schutte is very intelligent. He's very conscientious. He does a good job. And it's the point I want to make is, and yes, I support him, and I certainly support the sheriff's department. I think they're very professional. But people don't understand is he doesn't need that job. He doesn't need to be in that rotting jail with the sewage lines leaking on people's desktops and things of that nature.
Fighting for millages every couple of years.
he can walk away from this, and he's qualified to do many different things. And appreciate what you have.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have him. Okay, you know what? Oh gosh, I was all ready to wrap it up, but I forgot. How could I have let this skip my mind? The big news of the week.
Okay.
The big news of the week. Former Jackson Mayor Derek Dobies.
Oh, Lord.
He hasn't officially announced, but he was given the endorsement by the Jackson County Democrat Party and its chairman, Amador Abari, to be Jackson's next mayor. Derek Dobies, the video's going out there. It's out there on social media of him giving his little acceptance speech. And, of course, holding his heart, calling President Trump a madman during his little acceptance speech. And so it looks like we're going to have Derek Dobies possibly, he's going to be on the ballot for the voters to choose whether they want Derek back as our next mayor.
What I don't understand is, isn't that a nonpartisan race?
It's nonpartisan.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know how often
on paper and on the ballot. In actuality,
yeah. I don't know how common it is for local parties to endorse nonpartisan races. I mean, I know every once in a while you see school board maybe, but very rarely. I mean, at least on this side. I mean, we were in the office of the Republican Party, and I hear a lot of things. I never have heard anything like that.
It's in 2021, I was offered I went and spoke in front of the Jackson County Republican Party, and to introduce myself, I was invited there.
Right.
I didn't reach out to them because this is nonpartisan.
Yeah.
And the voters of the city of Jackson, the majority are vote Democrat.
Yeah, we're very blue.
We all know that. And it's already difficult enough to be elected, but to have an official endorsement by a political party, unfortunately, that being the Jackson County Republican Party, which I would honor, that would be a privilege to have their endorsement. But I went and spoke with them, and I explained, and there were a couple others there that understood my reasoning for not, if offered, not to accept their endorsement. And again, birthplace of the Republican Party, 25, 30 years ago. Oh, heck yes. Yeah. Endorse me, please. But not anymore, unfortunately. And that's another thing that Derek Dobies had to bring up during his acceptance speech when being endorsed by the Jackson County Democrat Party, was he had to throw it in there that, yes, this is the birthplace of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And of course they all snickered, laughed, and all clapped and all that. Oh my goodness, isn't that wonderful? They just love it when they can knock out a Republican candidate for local office. A candidate who may be Republican.
Yeah. That is potentially and probably a better, and I'm not saying because of Republican, but I mean any other party, it's that falls into that. It could be a better candidate overall for the city, and they don't care. You're not blue. You don't have a D in front of your name, or supposedly.
Right.
I don't think it's a coincidence at all that he name dropped. Mentioning Donald Trump in your announcement, it's throwing out red meat to say I'm the non.
Yeah,
I'm against that guy, as if that has any bearing. I noticed that on some of these Facebook posts and social media, and people just they cited that they would not vote for someone. They had no really reason. They couldn't say any reason to support Derek Dobies, but they're against Donald Trump. And if he's against the madman Trump, by God, I'm against him too. And you have my vote, good sir.
But Will, Kevin, let's be a little more politically correct here.
Okay.
The Republicans, they throw out the red meat, of course, but when you're Democrat, especially Dobies, he's not throwing out red meat. He may be throwing out sushi or something, Yeah.
Well, and the thing is I feel I ran into this on a personal level. A lot of people, it's not even that they're anti-Republican, they're just anti-MAGA, and which I understand. But for example, my dating profile on Facebook, right? I go through all the time. It's like, if you are a MAGA supporter, you voted for Trump, don't even contact me, blah, blah. So I put that on my profile, but the opposite. But I put a little bit more politically correct. I'm like, hey, so I'm involved in politics, but not in my personal, like my dating life. So if because I'm a grown up, I can get along with people I don't necessarily agree with on everything. So if you can't, then you need to grow up and don't even contact me. Because if you're going to put, if you support Trump in any way or, any of his policies, then, I hope you die pretty much. No.
Try going door to door. I've had individuals ask me first thing when they open that door, if I meet them in their yard, if they're out, doing some yard work. I've actually had them ask me, and this is post 2016, because again, Wilson runs at least every other year.
Yeah,
so anyways,
What else you got to do?
Yeah. Exactly. Or I've been asked, what do I got to lose?
Or guys, he's either door knocking or on the beach in Florida. What a life!
There we go, soon to be. But anyways, I've had more than one individual say to me, "Did you vote for Trump?" This was after 2016, and you know what? When I know that they're asking me that, I'll say, I did. Get off my property.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been ordered off their property.
I have family members.
Yes. And, but, or if I was asked, did you vote for Biden? No, I did not. Get off my property. It goes both ways, of course. They're hardcore Dems out there, there are hardcore Republicans
But
that would do the same.
It was never like this before. In the past, I've heard stories from my grandparents and older people, obviously, that talk about, you might josh your neighbor. Your neighbor's Democrat. You make fun of each other, you poke each other. Election's over. You guys are hanging out in the back drinking a beer. Whatever. Now you can't even associate with these people. There's an underlying hatred, not for Trump even, but for anyone that's ever even agreed with one of his policies. It's insane.
Well, I mean, that's just the tenor. That's the tone. There's a guy running for good luck with this in Ohio, running for to be the Democrat nominee to be the next Attorney General in Ohio, who says it's his intention to try Trump so he can convict him and give him the capital punishment. That's what we've been reduced to. And you see this language. Forget what you see here on the internet. I'm talking about from the leadership in the party, and it's very supercharged. It's very vitriolic. And you know what? Even once Trump's off the scene, it's not going to go away. Who is the great Satan in the minds of these people of the Republican Party from 2001 through about 2015? Who is the worst of the worst? Who was evil incarnate? His name was Dick Cheney, and they completely rehabilitated him because we have a new Satan to fight. And of course, Dick Cheney actually went out and hit the campaign trail for Biden. So don't worry, they will. These people, there's a lack of independent thinking. And just one addendum to add real quick on this discussion. Here's what's really unfortunate about the hyperpolarization, which we all see, we're all aware of. I don't care if you're a Democrat, you cannot disagree with that there's hyperpolarization. Is that one of the issues we were talking about today, the extreme ownership and the funding and the roads and how they're affecting these assessments, affecting struggling people in East Kansas. Guess what? These are the issues in our city. These are not partisan issues. These are not Democrat issues. These are not Republican issues. I will look for common cause with anyone who's willing just to share the word on social media, dig a little deeper, talk to people, seek a better way. These are bad policies, and they're harming you. And it doesn't matter who's sitting in the Oval Office. Doesn't matter if AOC is your next president. You need to pay attention to what's going on here in the city. It all
starts at the local level.
Yep.
Because that's who gets our money.
When I get my street assessment, I'm going to make sure no Democrats drive on my street because I paid for part of it. That's literally the amount of insanity and mental illness, I'll say it, that is involved with this.
Yeah,
it's insane.
So we have city elections. This November 2024. I'm going to say it right here, right now. At one point, I was considering running again for Jackson mayor, but I have made my decision. And I didn't have to get it from above. I didn't have to.
The Lord didn't come down and let you know.
The angel didn't descend and wrap his big white feathery wing around you. Like
Daniel Ronald Reagan came down.
Yeah.
No.
Well, John, we got one last battle to fight. One more mile to go.
We do have. I never say last. We do have a battle to fight, and I'm going to begin collecting signatures on petitions in order to be placed on the ballot for the 2026 mayoral election. Anyone interested, they can message me, and we'll go from there. I'm all over social media.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you'll have your petitions here in the GOP office as well for them to sign, or
we could discuss that. Yes.
We didn't discuss it beforehand, so talk to Russ about it, because I'm sure that's a good way to direct them up here.
That's right.
And they normally will have them nearby.
Yeah. And petitions are difficult. Well, to get signatures and so forth.
It's tough.
Especially during, the weather that we have.
Yeah, not now. Not in your life would I be going. No. But it's another frustrating. Again, this is going back to not exclusively, but the hyperpolarization is even just get someone to say, hey, I'm running just to be a candidate to be in a primary, because all that means is you're getting another choice.
Yeah.
You're getting, people will have more choices. You won't just have one person running. You might have someone running on the left side against Derek Dobies, or people running on the independent side.
Right.
With John. Notice I say independent. I say that very deliberately too, and I mean it. But it's hard. It's hard.
And I've been it's been said to me before. I go to areas to collect signatures and post office. I've stood out in front of the post office many times to collect signatures to be placed on the city ballot for the mayor. Now, again, if you run for county commission, you don't have to hand in a petition.
Right.
You just give them $200 and you're on the ballot.
Right. It's an either or situation, right?
Right. Yes, you can also hand in petitions. But anyways, with the mayoral election, you there's no choice. You have to hand in a certain amount of signatures, and so I've been asked before. Well, okay, I'll sign it. I'll consider signing, but I don't have to vote for you, right? I said no. This just places me on the ballot, as like Will said. Yeah. You have a choice.
Giving people more choices.
But I do.
I'll
I'll say to that person, and I'll say. I'll work on getting your vote.
Yeah. I would like you to vote for me, but you don't have to vote.
Yeah. So anyways, all right. Will, once again, thank you, sir. Wow. Wealth of information.
Yes.
Yes.
Learned a lot.
And Kevin, thank you again.
As always, thank you very much, John. Thank you.
We'll be doing this. It may have to be remote. Our next episode, it will be remote, as a matter of fact.
We'll make it happen.
We're in an undisclosed location right now, but I'm going to go somewhere. Well, you didn't mention it on that extreme ownership.
We have some good choices for you, John.
Yeah, I know, right?
And plus, I
heard San Diego's nice, other than it's in California.
Yeah, but you know what?
Orlando.
I'm not going to have the taxpayers pay for my. It's not a junket. It's just a getaway for a while. I'll be paying right out of my own pocket, but.
Well, you don't
it's
work
somewhere
you don't
where
work
the
for
sun
the city,
shines.
so.
It's somewhere where the sun shines, and somewhere where I can put a little toe between sand between my toes. All right, in the Great Gulf of America. We'll put it right down there, right in the area of the Great Gulf of America.
Sounds so nice right now.
Very much so.
So, anyways, thanks again, Kevin, and
thank you.
And Will, and again, Hits Home Jackson, your trusted source from the city to the county line. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to a Grandma's Boy Media Production.